No, it doesn't like that. Okay, which I will pull up right now. We just came off an Eat and Learn about Affordable Housing Initiative 135 that Camille Gix gave us. Sorry, I will call this meeting now to order. We will start with our land acknowledgement. Oh, before we get there, general meeting operations again, just a reminder, if you need to seek the floor, use the raise hand feature and I will acknowledge you. If we need to take a quick poll, we'll use the reaction buttons, which you can find down on the reaction feature in Zoom. General chat should be disabled, but you can you can message the hosts directly if you need help for like questions if you can't raise your hand. If you need your voting code, you haven't received your voting code, send an email to tally, T-A-L-L-Y at 43rddemocrats.org. We're also streaming on YouTube this time, Cass, I hope.
Yes, we're streaming on YouTube and this is being recorded also. Okay,
awesome. So you can also leave chats on YouTube as well. All right, and meeting norms, just a reminder on this as well, treat each other with dignity and respect. If you have a question, please ask a question, step up, engage, but also step back, don't monopolize. Everyone who's here is a volunteer, including you, and we thank you for your participation. And together we can stay on time and get out of here by 9 o'clock. Robert's rules. This is the rules we use to run our meetings, parliamentary procedures, helps the meeting flow well. You don't have to know all the details to participate. If you want to contribute, just raise your hand and we'll help you make that request into a motion. Most motions are pretty simple. I move we approve, amend, postpone a resolution. If you're a member of the 43rd, you have the right to participate as a full member. If you want us to slow down, if you have a question, just please raise your hand and ask. But also, please do not use Robert's rules for evil. The goal is to help us move through the meeting in an orderly fashion. It's not here to delay or block things using parliamentary motions. So land acknowledgement, I will do the land acknowledgement tonight. Although we are all joining virtually tonight, we like to start this event acknowledging that we are on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish people past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish tribe. If you'd like to learn more about whose land you occupy and have occupied, see the map at native-land.ca. And as a reminder, the 43rd, per our budget, has been contributing to the Duwamish tribe over the last year. And with that, I will move to the meeting. Approval of the agenda and the March meeting minutes. Is there anyone who would like to motion that we approve the agenda and meeting minutes for March? Oh, Anne, I see you've got your hand raised.
Hey there, who did you say that we need to ping for a voting number? Was it tally at something?
T-A-L-L-Y
at
43rddemocrats.org.
Thank you.
Let me put that back up. You can see it right here. Give me a second. I need to. Oh my God. There it is. Do we have anyone who will motion to approve the agenda and the March meeting minutes?
Hey, Paul, I just wanted to flag, I want to make sure we have quorum before we vote on anything. If we do, I move to approve the meeting minutes. If not, I don't know that we can.
How many people do we have? And do you have another question still? Thank you. I guess we need to do a quorum count. If you're a 43rd member, if you can just raise your hand quickly, please. Use the reaction button to raise your hand. So I am counting 16, 17, 18. Ron, are you in the 43rd? Give me a second. All right, we do not yet have quorum. All right, sorry, Linda, are you trying to speak? All right, hold on a second. Let me unmute you. There you go.
John's actually here with me, so there's one more, but there's no way to tell you that.
Okay, so it looks like we've got, right now we got 15, 16, 17, 18, we've got 19 people. So we're not yet at quorum. Okay. Well, we are not able to vote on anything, but we do have some guest speakers here, so we will continue on with guest speakers and just move through what we can of our non-agenda agenda in the interest of time. So let's see. Give me 1 minute and I will share my screen again. Is my screen sharing? Yeah, it is. Okay. All right. So we did have our caucus last month, and we've got a list of delegates. We actually were able to meet our diversity requirements, and so we got the 10% bump. And so actually we have our full list of delegates is here. We do not have any alternates at this time because they were admitted as full delegates to the convention. The convention is going to be June 25th. We'll continue to send out some more information about the convention for the broader membership to understand. Second thing of note that I have is that on the 21st, so that's in 2 days, Patty Murray is having a fundraiser. It's on 2020 Gallery, East Gallery. It's on Capitol Hill, I believe. Sign up is out from this website. I will put this into the chat as well. It'll be in the meeting notes for anyone who might want to attend that fundraiser with Patty Murray. And here is the fundraising link for those who are interested. All right, and with that, we will move into guest speakers. First up, we have Justice Mary Yu. Mary, if you can raise your hand so I can find you in here more easily. Oh, there we go. Oh, sorry, hold on, I muted you again. Oh. There we go. Thank you very much.
Great. Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the 43rd District. First of all, let me thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm Justice Mary Yu, and I am a member of your state Supreme Court, and I also happen to live in the 43rd District. In fact, I'm the only justice these days from the state Supreme Court who lives in Seattle or King County, and I got to say, I'm proud to be a Seattleite. I've been serving on the court for the last 8 years. I was first appointed to the court by Governor Inslee 8 years ago after serving as a trial court judge in King County Superior Court for 14 years, where I heard cases involving criminal, civil, juvenile, family law, and almost anything else that happens in Superior Court. I was elected in 2016 in a contested election, and I'm here today seeking another term. I have to say that when I was first appointed by Governor Inslee, I was honored and felt privileged to have been the first woman of color to serve on the court and the first woman of color to be elected to a statewide office. I'm proud to be Latina, Asian, and a member of the LGBTQ+ community. So during my 8-year term on the court, I have authored 125 opinions to date, 80 majority, 19 concurrences, and 26 dissents. I serve as co-chair of the Minority and Justice Commission. I'm also co-chair of the Washington Leadership Institute, which is an award-winning program that's designed to provide leadership development to traditionally underrepresented lawyers. I've been doing that since 2006, and I'm very proud that we have graduated 192 fellows from our program, including the newest U.S. attorney in Western Washington, Nick Brown. I continue to preside over mock trials. I teach at Seattle University School of Law. And I must say that I am very, very proud to be a member of this court at this time, in the sense that we are leading the nation on looking at criminal justice reform and issues related to race. I will stop at this point. Mr. Chair, I don't know if there's any ability for people to ask questions. I just want you to know that I would always be available to come back to answer any question or to talk more about the court or about myself. So I will be seeking an endorsement in June from the 43rd and hope that you will support me. So with that, again, thank you for the few minutes.
Thank you. Next up, Judge Adam Eisenberg.
It's a tough act to follow, Justice Yu, but thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I'm on the Seattle Municipal Court bench, and I'm in position 3. I was elected in 2018 with the great support of the 43rd, so I'm here to run again this year. I just want to give you a few programs that I'm involved in. Our bench is really focused on addressing systemic racism and finding alternatives for jail. And I'm the domestic violence judge. I handle a full caseload. And in Seattle Municipal Court, we're doing a pilot project called DVIP, Domestic Violence Intervention Project, which is really groundbreaking. It's creating individualized treatment for individuals who are in our program. They get assessed not only for domestic violence, but for chemical dependency and mental health, and a team is put together to address their individual needs. It's a research project that involves many community collaborators. I just want to let you know, like Refugee Women's Alliance, the Salvation Army, Coalition Ending Gender-Based Violence, the YWCA, the Mayor's Office on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, Seattle City Attorney's Office, Harborview Medical Center, and researchers from the University of Nebraska are helping us try to create a model that, again, serves as an alternative to jail for folks who commit domestic violence. I had an op-ed in the Seattle Times in October advocating the state legislature to help pay for domestic violence treatment, because individuals who go into an intervention don't have the option of having insurance pay for it, like chemical dependency or mental health. So the legislature didn't take me up. I know there's a lot of judges advocating for this, so hopefully in the next legislative session they'll take it up. The other program that I'm involved with is Youth Traffic Court, where we have students from Garfield High School serve as judges, juries, prosecutors, and defense attorneys of other kids who've gotten traffic tickets in Seattle. Seattle University law students serve as their mentors. Off-duty police officers come in as quote unquote expert witnesses to teach the kids about safe driving. So it's a wonderful, another version of a restorative justice project where people in the community are learning about the criminal justice system in a way that's helpful instead of harmful. So I also teach at the University of Washington and practice Aikido on the side. So anyway, thanks very much. I hope to seek an endorsement from you in June, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. And up now will be Judge Willie Gregory.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Judge Willie Gregory. I'm running to retain my position on the Seattle Municipal Court bench. That is position number 5. I'm currently the presiding judge in Seattle Municipal Court. I started my tenure as presiding judge March 2020. I've been a judge on the Seattle Municipal Court bench now for, I'm going on my 12th year. During that time period, I served in numerous courts on the Seattle Municipal Court bench. I served in the mental health court, the Veterans Treatment Court, the Domestic Violence Court, and I also presided over general trial courts. My background is that I was a public defender for 14 years. I worked at my own law firm for 8 years, and then I joined the Seattle Municipal Court bench. I have sought your endorsement 3 times, and I'll be seeking your endorsement again as I run to retain my position, which is Seattle Municipal Court, and that is position number 5. As Judge Eisenberg stated, who's one of my bench mates, at Seattle Municipal Court, we are very much concerned with eliminating systemic racism in the courts by way of our therapeutic courts. And we also did in the past year eliminated non-mandatory fines and fees from people having to pay those. So our court is what we call the People's Court. And I again would like to serve you on the People's Court, and I will be seeking your endorsement in June. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next on our agenda is Cody. Cody's going to talk to us about phone banking and an opportunity to become a PCO. Where are you, Cody? Oh, there you are, Cody. Go for it. Oh, gotta unmute you.
Oh, there we go. Got it. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. Hello, everyone. 43rd members. Cody, PCO chair here. I am gonna go through a couple, I think, exciting opportunities we have. First, I'll highlight, as everyone who's currently a PCO knows, it is PCO filing coming up. And if you're not currently a PCO, but you live in an unoccupied precinct, then we would love to have you file to run as PCO. And so the event that I'm going to highlight is with the National Organization of Women's Voters Training, and it's how to become a PCO. It's an online candidate filing, and it runs from May 16th through May 20th. So they're going to talk about what it means to be a PCO, and how you can best file and kind of succeed in that position. So Paul, if that's all right, I'm going to go ahead and I think share the link. Oh no, I think the link for that is in the agenda. I'll also share it in the chat though. And then I'll speak to another thing. Maybe not actually. I think, Paul, I think I'll have you or Cass share that link in the chat since I'm not able to. But I think that will be a great opportunity. And then the other one that I'm going to highlight is, while we're kind of while we're not in election season right now, what my sort of pet project I've been interested to do and what we've done a bit of the past couple of years is contact voters when we don't sort of quote unquote need anything from them, right? When we're sort of just trying to bring them into our tent and say, hey, what can the Democratic Party do to genuinely earn your vote, right, as voters, and what issues are on your mind, and kind of here's what we're doing to tackle those issues. So to that end, I got a little mad scientist with Vote Builder, and I identified a block of voters who are not reliable voters. I don't say that pejoratively. That's just a moniker that they can have in the system, but they're not reliable voters. But when they vote, it seems pretty likely that they're voting Democratic. And so what we really want to do is ensure that they're voting most often. This group of voters, the years that we do well in elections typically are years that this group of voters are voting, and the years that we're not doing as well in elections are years that they're not voting. So I think they, in some ways, make up kind of the fringes of what our winning coalition ends up being. I'm really excited to talk to these voters. So what that means, I still need to confirm that these dates don't conflict with any other committees on the board, but I would say tentatively, and I'll send out some email reminders about this, but tentatively Monday, May 9th and Thursday, May 12th, I'm looking to those to host a Zoom phone bank to talk to these voters. And if you phone banked before, great, we're happy to have you. If you haven't phone banked before, also happy to have you. We'll, for like anyone who's attended our phone banks knows, we'll train everybody up, right? So no one's just being thrown into the deep end of the pool. But I think if you have some time to engage with some voters, I think this could do some good. I think this could, again, pull some people kind of more consistently into our tent. So I'll put my email and phone number in here. Or no, I won't, because I can't put it in the chat. Sorry. I'll have Paul or Cass do that. I'll send them that. So you're also welcome to reach out if you have any other questions, but I'll be sending out email reminders. And yeah, I think that is all I got. Thank you for the floor, Paul.
Thank you very much. All right. And let's do this again. Let's see how many people we've got. If you are a 43rd member, if you can use the reaction button to raise your hand again, please. We are still not at 25. Let's see, I see Mission as well. Okay, all right. We will persist on with our non-meeting. Let me share my screen again. We will move on to the lid I-5 presentation. Try to remember, Scott, this is you, right? All right.
Good evening. See if I can
Cass,
share
if
my
you can,
screen.
sorry, Scott, one thing. Cass, if you can let Scott share his screen, that'd be great.
All right, let me know if I'm good to go there.
Looks good, Scott.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Chair, for having me this evening. My name is Scott Bonjukian. I'm a co-chair of the Lit I-5 Steering Committee. We are a local citizen group working to address this scar of I-5 where it runs through our city with a vision of replacing that or restoring it with features like this to help create a more resilient and stronger city over the long term for future generations. We're a people-powered movement. We are advocating for connectivity, sustainability, and equity in this project. And we're really kind of a facilitating organization and a clearinghouse for ideas. So we've, over the past 6 years or so, we've been hosting events and talking to the media and working with elected officials to spread the word and build up support for the project overall. The main effort right now is in central Seattle, in this area downtown, although we know there are a number of other similar lid opportunities over I-5 across the city. In particular, we've heard some recent interest from folks advocating in the University District, Wallingford, and kind of Roosevelt area as well. And as far as the central Seattle area, who benefits from the project long term, about 70,000 people live in the central neighborhood surrounding I-5, roughly within walking distance. And compared to the city as a whole, these folks are more racially and ethnically diverse, they're lower income, and there's a much higher proportion of renters. And we figure that's important because, those are folks without backyards who need more access to open space, which is one of the many benefits the project could provide. And we're working across a broad coalition with a variety of interest groups and stakeholders representing parks, transportation, housing. Recently, we've been working a lot with the University of Washington on student projects. And we're also working with officials at all levels of government, including two of our 43rd district legislators who have endorsed the project. Citywide as well, this is also a politically popular project. We enjoy supermajority support, although we could also continue to expand public interest and awareness to edge it over further over the years. As far as some of the specific benefits that I know will be of interest to locals, there's a number of opportunities to reduce noise pollution in the blocks surrounding the I-5 corridor, reduce air pollution, possibly address the urban heat island effect, which we know is important as we encounter more heat waves, and also potential to treat stormwater as it runs off the hillsides into our marine waterways. Affordable housing has emerged as a major opportunity. The LID project overall could create up to 17 acres of publicly owned land, meaning we, the public, can control what goes on it. And one of the big interests that we've heard, of course, is affordable housing. And housing near jobs and transit, we know, is also a climate affirmative policy and objective. But we also need to acknowledge the folks who live in social housing near I-5 today. There's about 600 such social or affordable housing units within a block of I-5, enduring its noise and fumes. So living over the freeway next to those buildings could obviously improve quality of life immensely. At a more broad regional perspective, we also know I-5 is vulnerable to earthquakes because of its age, its non-modern design. So there's a short-term opportunity for the city of Seattle to think about this in conjunction with WashDOT about a seismic evaluation of the corridor. And long-term, we understand there are opportunities to design lids to reinforce the I-5 structures to ensure that it's available for emergency transportation, hospital access, and things like that for future disasters. And speaking of I-5's construction methodology, we know back in the 1960s, before it was built, there were protests and opposition to it because people knew what a scar it would create through our city. And about 40,000 people were displaced by the construction. And in the downtown area, of course, we probably won't be surprised to know most of those folks were displaced in rental apartments or businesses in the central area. And so acknowledging the wrongs that the international or the interstate system imposed on American cities over the last 50 years, this is part of a growing nationwide movement to restore cities and to establish some form of social justice to mitigate some of the problems that highways have created. So we were featured in a 2021 nationwide report and are partnering with a number of others like-minded organizations across the country to advocate for federal funding. I won't read all of these, but I'll just say we've been active throughout the years, and the most important milestone was there in 2020 when the city of Seattle published a feasibility study confirming the project is possible and should advance for its public benefits. And over the next 5 years, we have a work plan to secure a federal grant to do more planning and technical work, integrate I-5 lidding with Seattle's comprehensive plan and other urban design projects, explore project sponsorship, and ultimately create a I-5 lid master plan through extensive community engagement in partnership with the city. With that, we have a website, of course, lidI5.org, where there's lots of additional information. We're happy to talk about an endorsement by the 43rd Democrats if that's something you do for this type of work. Otherwise, we're always looking for volunteers, donors, and general supporters. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Any questions from anyone in attendance? Linda.
What's the eventual timeline for actually opening the new lid?
Because it's a fairly large project and things involving highways always take many years, we think optimistically, opening in the late 2020s, early 2030s would probably be realistic. And the more political support there is, the faster it can happen.
Thanks. I would have guessed 2050.
I have a question. We heard earlier about social housing, about that. Is that in any way being considered as to coordinate with this?
We haven't talked to the folks behind that campaign, but in theory, yes, this could be one site where the funding generated through that could be cited. But yes, that's a good reminder to reach out to them. Thank you.
Mark Taylor Canfield has a question. Are there any examples of other communities who have done this?
Yes, there's about 50 or so similar lids that have been completed across the United States, and another roughly 40 are in various stages of planning, including numerous ones here right in King County. Mercer Island, Bellevue, State Route 520 are all examples of lid projects completed within the last couple decades.
Is there any estimate of total cost involved in the project for downtown Seattle?
Yes, the feasibility study went into that, looking at a range of kind of on the low end of simple park lids versus the high end being more intensive private development. And using very conservative cost estimates, it was in the range of about $1 to $1.5 billion. And just for folks who can't imagine $1 billion, the Waterfront Seattle projects in total will be about $4 billion with the highway removal, the tunnel, new parks, and all that. So kind of fits within that, for example.
We have another question from Dawn. Is the lid I-5 going to also reach southbound to Rainier Valley? I believe they are trying to do away with the I-5 corridor, or am I wrong?
I-5 doesn't run through the Rainier Valley, but kind of in South Seattle, the area around kind of South Beacon Hill and Georgetown is another opportunity site. And kind of in that similar vein, we've also connected with the folks in the South Park neighborhood who have received funding to study removing part of Highway 99 where it runs at the surface level through their neighborhood.
Dawn also has a question. Portland has also removed portions of I-5. Maybe I feel like I'm not speaking very well for her.
I don't know if that's a question, but Portland, I don't think they may have, I'm not sure if they've removed it. I know there's a controversial project to widen I-5 there. And also as part of the kind of in the Rose Quarter area. But otherwise, I don't know too much about that.
Linda's asking, Judkins and the Freeway Park sections are lids. So at Judkins and the Freeway Park, are those considered lids?
Yeah, Freeway Park is one of the first in the country. And along with the convention center, those are existing lids downtown. And then it's Sam Smith Park, kind of over I-90 in the Judkins Park neighborhood, is also a major lid that I think I saw Frank Chop on here. I know he was involved with that planning effort years ago.
And Dawn is concerned that, okay, so Dawn has read that many say that I-5 is racist.
Yeah, I think we could say that in general for how highways were planned across the United States. So that's definitely a common view.
Hey, Scott, I believe we've talked before for something else. So kind of for context purposes for all on the call, I was curious if you can compare, since you cited the, I think, $1.5 billion for like lower estimate of a lid, if you could compare that to just the general cost of typical freeway projects in general. And then also, I was curious if this has moved. I know there was a feasibility study and you had a timeline. I was just curious if this was cemented in any specific way as actually moving forward within a city or a county council.
Yeah, hi, Kelsey. Great questions. There are several official city policies that supports kind of the lid concept in general. There's a couple of policies in the comprehensive plan on parks and transportation that kind of generally supports lidding over freeways, reservoirs, and railroads, just as a way to kind of expand public land. There's also an urban design study called Imagine Greater Downtown, which a couple of years ago endorsed lidding I-5 specifically. So that's there. And the city council has also directed the city's planning office to study lids in various neighborhoods as part of the kind of annual comprehensive plan update. So there's kind of various avenues there, but so that's policy-wise, that's there. And then your other question was about costs compared to other highway projects. Let's see, I have a good comparison here. I mentioned the Waterfront Seattle project. So that included demolishing the Alaskan Way Viaduct, building the tunnel, building the seawall, building the new parks. That's going to be roughly $4.5 billion. So, about 3 or 4 times higher than the I-5 lid project would cost. State Route 520 reconstruction across the lake, that's costing about $4.5 billion. Rebuilding I-5 through Tacoma is costing about $1.5 billion. So, yeah, it's kind of in that range of kind of heavy civic infrastructure projects.
Any other questions?
I will drop my email in the chat if anyone wants to reach out one-on-one for any other questions. Otherwise, thanks for your time.
Oh, Dawn, did you have one other?
I was
Okay,
just
go
going to
ahead.
make one more statement, and I feel bad that Cass had to ask because I was typing some questions and some statements together. But I also lived in Texas, and in Texas on I-10, there's the Clyde Warren Park, which is a wonderfully successful lid on I-10. So I just wanted to include that for information because I feel it should be important contextual information added.
Yes, that's one of the best examples out there in terms of design and the objectives that it has achieved.
Annabelle?
Yeah, since we're so many questions asking about cost, it would seem to me that lidding I-5 is also going to create opportunities for economic value, either directly through the sale of new land effectively that becomes usable, and so the just general effect of economic growth as we reconnect the city. Has there been any attempt to estimate kind of whether or not this project would eventually pay for itself and what the horizon for that would look like?
Yes, good question. The 2020 feasibility study did look at that. And admittedly, I'm not a financial guy, so a lot of their findings kind of flew over my head. But the gist of it is, even if it was all given over to private entities, it probably would not pay for itself just because of the intense engineering that would be required to support very large buildings. So it's assumed that there would probably be a mix of public and private involvement generally. But the funding sources in the future are still kind of open to debate.
So was that looking at just at the income or the revenue from sale of land, or was it also looking at ongoing economic impacts?
Both.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Scott. Next up, we've got Ben to talk about ranked choice voting. Oh, there you are, Ben.
Hello, thanks for having me. Is it all right if I share some slides?
Yes, Cass will make sure you can do that.
All right. So my name is Ben. I'm the communications manager of Fairville, Washington, and I do happen to be in the 43rd district. So I recognize some of the names on here. Thanks for having me. All right. So let's talk about ranked choice voting. So Fairville, Washington is a small nonprofit. We're a statewide nonprofit. We got staff all across the state. We have volunteers all across the state, and we are fully committed to bringing ranked choice voting to Washington state. Let me make sure I can see my own slides here. So what is ranked choice voting? Can I have a very quick show of hands? I can't see all of you, but of who's heard of ranked choice voting and feels like they kind of know what it is? Okay. All right, that makes sense. Sometimes I ask that question and nobody's heard of it, but for this group, this kind of checks out. So what is ranked choice voting? It's a better way to vote. Here's a very rough, overarching definition of what ranked choice voting is. With ranked choice voting, or RCV, you can rank candidates on your ballot in the order you prefer: first choice, second choice, third choice, and so on. If your favorite can't win, your vote counts for your next choice. That's all it is. That's a 2-sentence description. So what does it look like? Well, here's a ballot. You can see this voter gets to rank their ice cream in order of their favorite to least favorite. They pick chocolate as their first choice, vanilla as their second choice, and strawberry as their third choice. And that's roughly what a ballot looks like. It doesn't look exactly like that, but that's how a ballot's going to be laid out. And ranked choice voting, it gives you the option to rank backup choices. And fundamentally, what this means is you're more likely to end up with a winner that you like. So beyond that, what are the benefits of ranked choice voting? Why is Fairville, Washington working so hard to get this done. And Fairfield, Washington, along with a bunch of partner organizations, I should say. So here are the benefits. Benefits are you get more issue-based campaigns. And I'll talk about why that is, because that's a really interesting one. So with ranked choice voting, when you can rank chocolate first, vanilla second, and strawberry third, that means candidates don't have an incentive to be as negative as they do now. So imagine that you're vanilla in this case, and you go to the door of a voter, and that voter says, "Hey, nice to meet you, but I'm actually voting for chocolate." Right now, if you're vanilla, this is a strange example to do in the context of ice cream. I usually do it in terms of candidates. I don't know why I chose ice cream, but bear with me. If you're vanilla ice cream, you go to the door and the voter says, "I will like chocolate." You say, "Okay, that's great. I can't really get anything more from you. Goodbye. Nice to meet you." But with ranked choice voting, vanilla has a chance to say, "Okay, here's actually what chocolate and I have in common. Here are some of our common policy platforms, and here's why we actually are two candidates that you should consider supporting. You should support me twice for your second choice." So once you have the ability to rank choices as a voter, candidates have to continue having that conversation with you even once you're committed. And that's just a small example, but overall, the effect is that candidates, instead of going negative on each other, and instead of maybe vanilla saying, "Chocolate's so bad, chocolate's evil, chocolate hates dogs," vanilla is going to try to find ways to show commonalities and build coalitions. And that's what we see in ranked choice voting races. The second we see is more representative elections. And this one takes a little bit to get into of why that is, but ranked choice voting has a pretty proven track record of producing more representative, more equitable outcomes, especially for communities that are historically underrepresented. The effect is compounded when you have proportional ranked choice voting, which is another topic we can save for another time, but eventually Fairfield, Washington is working towards proportional representation through ranked choice voting. So for those out there who have heard of that or heard of single transferable vote, that is the end goal here. Third is you don't have to vote for lesser evil. So right now, I'm an organizer at heart. I've been an organizer for a bunch of candidates. I've heard so many voters say, "Look, I like this candidate, but I don't think they have a chance to win. So I'm going to vote for this candidate who I think does have a chance to win." And ranked choice voting says, no, you can rank your favorite candidate first, but you have to you have the chance to rank backup candidates who you prefer over some really despicable candidates who you can just not rank at all. And then finally, ranked choice voting it's simple, it's tested, it's proven. It's been used in, I think, over 400 elections in the US by now. So we have a lot of data to show that this is a system that works. So you might ask, and I kind of tipped my hand there, you might say, "This sounds great, Ben. This sounds great, but politicians aren't going to want to change the system they were elected with, right? So how are we going to get this to happen?" The truth is, it's already happening. Ranked choice voting is used in about 50 places across the US. You can see up there in Maine, Maine uses ranked choice voting statewide and for one or two cities in the state. So it's used ranked choice voting in 2 statewide elections so far. Alaska is about to use it in their upcoming special election and in the general election in November. And a whole bunch of cities and I think 1 or 2 counties across the country use ranked choice voting. And then there's some special use cases in like Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Springfield, Illinois, where ranked choice voting is used for very specific purposes. So it's happening. And in Washington, it's happening as well. Here's what's happening in our state. Ranked choice voting is on the ballot in Clark and San Juan County. Now, I used bad phrasing there, but that means that voters in Clark County and San Juan County have the option to adopt ranked choice voting this year. So if you got friends in Clark County, you got friends in San Juan County, make sure you let them know because that's really exciting. There are 10 jurisdictions across Washington state who have asked the legislature for ranked choice voting local options. So not to get too deep in the weeds here, but in Washington state right now, there are only a handful of places that can actually adopt the best form of ranked choice voting. Clark and San Juan County are the exceptions to the rule, but 10 jurisdictions are asking the state state legislature to allow them to adopt ranked choice voting in the way that is optimal. Yeah, there's a big, like, there's a whole lot of backstory there, as you can imagine. There's a coalition of 30 plus organizations advocating for proportional ranked choice voting and ranked choice voting in Washington state. So while Fair Vote Washington was kind of a leader and kind of by ourselves for the past 4 or 5 years, we've been advocating for this across the state. We now have a huge coalition that we're part of, where many different organizations, environmental organizations, racial justice organizations, good government organizations are coming together and bringing their perspectives to the table for why ranked choice voting is so important. And they're helping us reach even more folks who we weren't able to reach before. And finally, there's some legislation happening, like the ranked choice voting local options bill, which you may have heard of, which would give places the option to adopt ranked choice voting. And I think Representative Chop is an advocate for that. So I really want to give him a quick shout out here. And so, yeah, that's Fair Vote Washington. That's what ranked choice voting is all about. And if you want to get involved, I'd love to add my email to the chat, because you should feel free to reach out to me. Am I allowed to take questions? Did I save enough time? Awesome. Yeah. Please send your questions over or just ask them. I will add one thing really quick, which is you may have heard of an approval voting initiative. We are different from that initiative. Fair Vote Washington is actually recommending folks do not sign that petition for approval voting. And I think we're recommending folks vote no on it when it comes time. That's for a different time though. So we are separate from that organization. If there, oh, question from Elaine, yes.
All right, I think I'm on. As I understand ranked choice voting, it means that it's voting across party lines, right?
Right. So just like in Washington right now, where all candidates from all parties are on the ballot in the primary, the version of ranked choice voting that we're advocating for and what will be on the ballot in Clark County is all the candidates are on the November general election ballot. So you actually can combine the primary and the general election so that all voters get a say on all the candidates and they can rank them there and the election is held there.
Yeah. Well, it's notable on the map that you were showing of where it's in effect in the country. It's like across the southeast, and that's a very red zone. So it gives the impression that this somehow is, only amplifies, sort of the political leaning of a place, which maybe is a good thing or a bad thing, but I wonder if you could comment on that.
Sure, that's a great question. I should mention that most of those states in the southeast, like Georgia, they use ranked choice voting in very, very specific instances. So a lot of the places that use ranked choice voting, it's used really across party lines. Maine is a very purple state. Alaska's a red state. San Francisco, a ton of cities in California use it. I don't know if I can say exactly if it amplifies any partisanship, but that may be another question that is just got in the chat that I can talk about there. Sorry if I didn't give you a great answer for that. But.
All right.
Is it okay if I just pick up these questions from the chat, or should I read them aloud?
If you'll read it aloud
Yes.
and answer it.
Okay, let's see. So from Linda Clifton, what are the implications for political parties with ranked choice voting? That's a great question. There is some potential that ranked choice voting could allow for folks to identify as independents more readily, because you don't have to have the big backing from institutions to be, I should say, viability isn't such an important thing with ranked choice voting, because voters can vote for you and not be afraid that you're not electable. So that does give folks an opportunity to run as independents and run on their own footing. So that's one reason a lot of folks come to ranked choice voting, is because it kind of loosens the the partisan hold that is on our politics. But it's not like ranked choice voting is going to eliminate parties. Candidates who identify with the party are still going to want to use the networks of parties, and they're still going to want to give voters an easy way to identify what their views are. So I don't think it's going to have a huge effect either way, except to maybe allow some folks to run as independents and maybe allow for some other third parties to healthily gain some traction. And then from Mike and Edith Ruby, could you explain proportional ranked choice voting? Absolutely. So proportional ranked choice voting or proportional representation is the idea that if an idea or population makes up 30% of the electorate, they should get 30% of the representation. And that doesn't happen right now. So what happens right now is if you get 30% of the vote, you're out. You don't win anything because it's winner take all. But excuse me, with proportional representation, you can have multiple winners coming out of a district. So instead of the 43rd district electing one representative, or I guess they elect two, we could up that to 3 and have 3 different electorates electing their representatives to go to Olympia. And the effect of that is that historically underrepresented populations get a chance to elect their representative of choice, even if they can't reach that 50% threshold. And that really allows more voices into our politics. And that's why proportional representation is so exciting. Do you have the support of King County elections, Julie Wise and Secretary of State Kim Wyman? I think that's a great question. I think that's a question I'd have to send to them. So yeah, you can absolutely go and ask them. They are definitely aware that ranked choice voting is an issue being talked about, and I think they see it. I think they see that it is going to be happening in Washington State, but I can't speak to whether they support it or not. Ron Davis says that New York uses it. Yeah, New York City absolutely does use ranked choice voting, and they're actually the biggest jurisdiction in America that uses it, which, yeah, that they're the biggest jurisdiction by a lot, which speaks to how big New York City really is. From Tara Gallagher, you have mentioned many jurisdictions have ranked choice voting for special circumstances or particular votes. Can you give some examples? Yes, I can. I'm from Illinois, and Springfield, Illinois uses ranked choice voting for one of these particular examples. Springfield uses ranked choice voting for military and overseas voters because I think this is exactly how it works, but don't quote me on this. They have to send the ballots overseas and get them back in between runoff elections. So in between an election and a runoff, they would have to send ballots over, get them back for the election, and then send more over for runoff election, and then get those ballots back. So folks in Springfield realize they don't have enough time between the general election and the runoff to send ballots back and forth enough. So they switch to instant runoff voting, which accomplishes that instant runoff immediately. So some voters that are registered to vote in Springfield but live overseas or are in the military overseas use ranked choice voting. It's only a very small handful of voters. Georgia actually just started doing this for their military and overseas voters, I believe, as well. And that's where you see a lot of, in that map that I showed, a bunch of those southeastern places. They're using ranked choice voting not because they necessarily see ranked choice voting as something that's bringing them a whole lot of benefits, but out of necessity because it's more efficient. I hope that explained it. It is a very specific use case, though. Yes, Kelsey mentioned that, Kelsey Hamlin, sorry, mentioned that you should probably bring up that we at the 43rd used ranked choice voting in our endorsement process. Yay, okay, so that explains, so many of you know what ranked choice voting is. And Mike and Edith Ruby asked, how does RCV contribute to PR? Or how does ranked choice voting create proportional representation? Great question. For that, we'd have to spend a whole lot more time going into exactly what that system looks like because it is a slightly different system. But essentially what's happening is the voter sees the ballot the same way they do currently. When you're electing 3 candidates instead of 1 candidate with ranked choice voting, voters go in and they rank their candidates, and say I rank chocolate number 1 and chocolate passes the threshold to get elected, all I voted for was chocolate. And so other voters are going to have an opportunity to elect the second and third choices, but my choice is still stuck with chocolate. Other voters are going to have the chance to elect the other 2 representatives from my district. If, however, chocolate does not have enough votes to win, I still get to have my second choice, and I still get to have a say in who is going to be the second or third representative in my district. This is a very simplistic overview, and it probably doesn't make total sense because it wouldn't even make sense to me. But essentially, ranked choice voting allows for a better method for electing folks proportionally. And I do hope you'll check out our website because we have events regularly where we can go more in depth about what proportional representation is and how ranked choice voting contributes to that. Annabelle Bachman, sorry, this is my first time seeing a lot of names. We do not use ranked choice voting for endorsements. We allow members to vote for multiple candidates, but they're not ranked. I cannot speak to that, sorry, but yes, I'll leave that to the experts of the 43rd to figure out exactly what the process is. I don't see any more questions. Is that correct?
Yeah. And Ben, if you can also put the link, well, or I can put the link to Fair Vote Washington in the chat. If people have additional questions.
Perfect.
There we go. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
If you have more questions, want to learn more, the URL is in the chat here for everyone. Thank you very much, Ben.
Thanks, Mr.
All right, let's do one additional membership check. If you are a member of the 43rd, please raise your hand. Still waiting here. Let's see. 19. We've got, I'm seeing more. Mark, you can't raise your hand if I remember right. James, Sean, GH, Arshia, got 19. I am seeing 20. Mike and Edith, are you 2 or are you 1? Sorry, can you, you're 2. Okay, so you're 2. So that gives us 21. Yeah, Linda, I've got you 2 as well. Let me count more here. 21, 22, Mark, you're 22, James, 23. So Sean, GH, and Arshia, are you also members? If so, that puts us over 25. GH, Arshia? If you can either raise your hands or, okay, Arshia is not. So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 with James. GH, are you? We need one more to make quorum. Don't know. Let's see, so I've got 20. So showing we have 20 hands up. 21 because Linda's got 2. 22 with Mike and Edith. 23, Mark, who can't raise his hand. I don't see Sam in the list. Is Sam even online? Yeah, we're still not at quorum unless we can get, I think, one more. 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, actually, we do, okay, so we're showing 21 hands plus 2 where there's double people. That's 23. Mark is 24. James is 25. So that puts us at quorum as long as nobody, GH's hand is raised. That puts us at quorum, assuming nobody drops out here. All right. Whew. With that, I will call this meeting to order officially then. Let me share my screen again. You should be able to see the agenda here. Call this to order, approval of the agenda and the minutes. Do I have somebody who will? Kelsey.
Sorry, motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
Thanks. Any objections? Seeing no hands raised, we will move forward. Thank you. All right. There's my mouse. All right, we're scrolling down now. Okay, so we've gone through everything that can be done without having an official meeting. So first up, official meeting, we have a resolution in support of social housing. And let me pull this up here. Also put this into the chat. Here is the link. Do we have somebody who would like to move that we consider this? Frank?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thanks, Paul. I appreciate it. Well, if no one else will do it, I will move adoption of the resolution for initiative 135.
Thank you. And do we have a second? I have Amy Madden saying second here in chat to me. All right. Frank, would you like to speak to the contents of the resolution? Oh, wait, you're still, we have to unmute you again, sorry. There you
Yeah,
go.
there you go. Thanks, Paul, for that. Earlier tonight at 6 o'clock, Camille Gix, who's one of the authors of this initiative, had an hour-long conversation with a number of people. And we had a good discussion with questions raised, but I would really strongly urge that people would endorse this resolution for a number of reasons. The current system that we have certainly isn't working enough for what we need in this city. It's just woefully under what we should be doing in terms of affordable housing and many other things in the community. So I would strongly urge your support of this because it provides an important new tool for us that we can use for affordable housing and other purposes. It is something that we need so that we, the people, would own some housing, and by virtue of ownership, has many benefits. It definitely, and this is the biggest point, it would ensure that the housing that's acquired or created would be permanently affordable. The city of Seattle currently has a program that basically is a subsidy for private for-profit real estate interests to provide, a few units of affordable housing for a little bit. That is the wrong approach. That's more like Richard Nixon in the White House. What we need is a democratic approach, which is public ownership of the housing as another tool that we need in order to move forward. It got a good coalition that's put together this effort. They've reached out to many people. It is something that I think the public will support because the current situation is not tolerable. I want to thank Camille as well as Tiffany McCoy from Real Change for reaching out to me. I've been having many meetings with them. And we have some opportunities in the city that I think that people don't even realize we have. There's large tracts of publicly owned land that we can then use to build new affordable housing owned by the people. That means it's permanently affordable and can be financed through a variety of specific tools. I could go on for 2 or 3 hours, but I won't. But I'm available for anybody who wants to call me to follow up on this because I don't see Camille in the group here. This is an important thing. We should have this tool. It's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Any questions about the contents of the resolution before we move on to discussion and debate? Tara.
It's not particularly about the content. It's just more just that. So this is an endorsement. So it's a higher vote threshold.
Yeah. It's a 2/3 threshold, yes?
It's 60%.
Okay. Any questions from anyone about the resolution? All right, seeing no questions, we will move on to debate. Frank's statement, I think we can take as a statement for the resolution to support Initiative 135, to endorse Initiative 135. Is there anyone who would like to speak opposed to this resolution? Anyone who'd like to speak opposed? Okay. Seeing there is no one who would like to speak opposed, I will ask if there is any objection to adopting this by unanimous consent. If you would like us to vote on it, please raise your hand. Otherwise, we will adopt by unanimous consent. Is there any objection to adopting this by unanimous consent? And I'll ask one last time, any objection to adopting by unanimous consent? Okay, seeing no objection, the 43rd Democrats has adopted this resolution to endorse Initiative 135 by unanimous consent. Thank you all. Thank you, Frank. Looks like also Camille was able to just join. Thank you, Camille, for bringing this forward. Yes, Frank.
Just quickly, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I'm serious though, if people have further questions to follow up, I'd be more than happy to talk to people about more of the specifics and also any questions you might have to answer those. So just thanks again, Paul, for doing this. Thanks for everybody for endorsing this. It's very important, particularly right now, because they're out there collecting the signatures in order to get it on the ballot, which I think they'll be able to do because the number that we have to achieve is relatively modest, but the people need to see this and have a chance to vote on it. Thank you very much.
Camille?
Hey, sorry that I wasn't able to be here. I'm I'm doing lots of things for the campaign right now. But I really appreciate everyone's vote and the unanimous consent. But yeah, just for those of you that weren't at the beginning, I'm Camille. I'm the policy chair for the 43rd Dems, and I'm also one of the steering committee members for Initiative 135. If folks are interested in getting involved, which I absolutely urge you to do, as Representative Chop said, we need 35,000 signatures, and then we're going to need a massive get out the vote effort. You can go to howsourneighbors.org/HON events to sign up to participate in signature gathering efforts. And then the 43rd is also welcome to host your own signature gathering effort. I am going to be available at my address for folks to pick up petitions and supplies to do tables. You can also go to Real Change. I will send a follow-up email with all of this information. But yeah, thank you everyone so much for your endorsement. And thank you, Representative Chop, for being able to speak for me when I wasn't able to be here.
Thank you, Camille. And did I see someone else's hand up before? No. Okay. All right. Let's see. Moving on to the next. Brad, would you like to present on the draft proposed budget? Cass, if you can provide Brad sharing rights.
Yeah. So I've drawn up a budget for this year, and it's essentially last year's budget with some housekeeping and one kind of expansion, which would be for our election activities. Last year we sent out a mailing for the general election. This year we could potentially do mailings for the primary or for the general. So I increased that from 3,000 to 6,000. Everything else here is just housekeeping. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about it really. If anyone has any questions, you can ask them, or if this is something that interests you, you can contact me or the rest of the board to get involved. But if we want to move to a vote to approve this for the rest of the year, we can do that now too.
Does anyone have questions about the budget? Linda, unmute you.
So what are we assuming about in-person versus virtual meetings for the rest of the year?
That's
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brad.
Probably not assuming much, but we have some money budgeted for holding in-person meetings if we need to, not just staying the same. there's several things in here that we budgeted in past years, but because of the limitations in what we've been able to do, haven't been spent at all.
And what have we done with those unspent funds in past years? Where do those show up?
We have up at the top here is our assets. So it's just been held over.
Okay.
And I don't think this was linked in the agenda, but we'll send out a link to the budget.
Thank you.
Thanks, Linda. Anne Marie?
Yes, I'm just looking, this looks like the summary page, what we're looking at online here. Some of these expenses are, I don't understand or need a little more information. What is 7130 mutual aid community support? What is there in that little description in column C? What does that say? The reason I ask is it appears to be, along with 7110, appear to be our largest expenses, largest budget items. And so I'd like to understand what those two are.
So this is mutual aid was something that we decided on last year as a way to use some of our funds to help basically to help build community and support our community.
So what is the money actually used for? What are the line item expenses within that $4,000? Is it going to for food?
Yeah, I see that Dawn has her hand raised. I think she'd be the
Hi, Linda. Last year I asked and I made a proposal to the 43rd, and you all passed the resolution to disperse certain funds for direct services to many organizations. And you were one of the ones, I do believe, as well as Tara and Annabelle, that had asked that a mutual aid subcommittee be enacted, which has been enacted, and we have put protocols and budgetary limits on the amount of money that we can distribute to each organization. But we distribute up to maximum, but have not always distributed maximum $250 per month to certain organizations that we, as the mutual aid subcommittee, who are all members of the 43rd body, we vote upon which organizations need the most funds and the most direct services. And we also ask the body to provide direct services and volunteer to help organizations that are providing food, that are providing tents, that are providing scofflaw mitigation, they're providing hutches and transportation so that 43rd constituents that live in RVs, those RVs are not impounded, and we are providing other resources through those organizations. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, this is essentially a pack. Then this line item is whatever you're deciding to spend money on. So that was a whole bunch of just kind of stuff. And it sounds like there are 3 people that are steering the spending on that stuff. Is that what you just said? $4,000, there are 3 people that kind of are the nexus of this effort?
I feel like I can answer that a little bit. I do want to be sure that the folks that, or at least the chair, Donna, you just heard from, was elected to their position by the 43rd. And then in addition to that, the chair, along with the folks who join in on that committee, and there's participatory guidelines around that as well, that people who are 43rd members can join in on. Those folks are the ones who designate where the funds go every month. And then every month we review this at our general meeting and also approve them before the committee approves them beforehand. So basically like democratically controlled electoral decision-making process on top of, I believe earlier you had mentioned it being a PAC. These things are not going towards any politically motivated things or candidates or bodies. They are instead going towards things that are essentially community driven, like folks that are on the ground, and like actively mobilizing to just help each other out essentially in the communities and the neighborhoods that they live in. So these are not like PAC related, just to make sure that that's like on the record.
Thank you so much, Kelsey, for that background context for Linda. I'd also like to say that there are more than 3 in the subcommittee, and we require 2/3 body vote, democratic vote. And we also have to hold ourselves accountable to the Policy Action Committee, which we do once a month as well. And it's coincided with the Policy Action Committee events as well. And everything that we do is provided and granted permissions, or also we have gone through and not necessarily agreed upon certain funds as well. And these are all organizations that are politically free. We do not endorse and we do not promote the Democratic Party and the Progressive Party. We just simply volunteer our time, services, and any funds as needed, up to $250 per organization in these grassroots organizations that help people specifically in the 43rd. I hope that answers your question further, Linda.
Just one note, it's Anne Marie who's asking the questions, not Linda. And just also, Anne Marie, a little more context. There is a report that the Mutual Aid Committee puts out. It was part of the charter under which the committee was created. If you are interested in learning more about what the Mutual Aid Committee does, the Policy Committee meets at least once a month, and the Mutual Aid Subcommittee provides a report in through that we also then distribute out.
Great.
Linda?
I'd love the link to that, to those materials. That'd be great. Thanks.
Linda?
I'd like to suggest that report should be going to the membership, not simply to a subcommittee, periodically and probably monthly. I think we'd like to know about it. And I also think that it is, as Anne Marie said, a lot of money. So it would be useful to know how our organization is helping other organizations and helping people on the ground. It would be great for us to know that.
Yeah, those reports are given at the general meetings.
Okay, I don't remember any before, but that doesn't mean anything. Just because I don't remember.
I don't
We've
remember.
we've got the Mutual Aid Committee report coming up shortly here.
I do every month on the general reports, and I'm very sorry, Anne Marie, as well. I like to hold myself accountable that I lumped you and Linda together as one person because I could not see all of the names. So I want to apologize for that. I do give committee reports in which I explicitly tell you whether we have or have not agreed upon certain funds. And that's done usually around 8:30 or 8:25, depending on time. Sometimes it has exceeded to 9 p.m. And I also put them in the general 43rd Slack, as well as the 43rd Mutual Aid Subcommittee Slack channels, all of the report information.
I didn't even know we had Slack channels. That's awesome. Maybe we can publish those as well. Thanks.
All right, any other questions about the budget? Any other questions from anyone? Do we have any motions to adopt a budget? Do we have any motions to adopt the budget? I see Tara and Jeff raise their hands. We can, and Amy. Tara?
Technically, as a coming out of committee, it is a motion, but I'll move that we adopt the budget.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Whew, discussion. Is there any discussion anyone has about the budget? I am seeing no hands raised. Well, I give you all another 30 seconds to sort of think about it if you have a discussion. Linda did ask a question earlier about in-person meetings. As Brad alluded to, we don't have any plans one way or another for in-person meetings at this time. As you're probably aware, COVID is on the increase yet again. Between that and the ability for virtual meetings to potentially be more inclusive as people don't have to travel to a location in order to participate, we're still looking at, this time continuing with the virtual meetings. If we get to the point in which we feel like it might be worth going to in person, we'll bring that to the membership and discuss in-person, hybrid of some combination of online and in person or something else. So. Okay. Seeing no one wanting to discuss, let's take this to a vote. I will ask again if there's any objections to adopting the budget by unanimous consent. Any objections? Last opportunity, any objections? Okay, we will adopt this 43rd budget by unanimous consent. Thank you all. Let me share my screen once again. All right, let's just make sure we didn't miss anything in all the flurry of trying to get quorum. We had the guest speakers, we had phone banking, how to become a PCO, the resolution, the budget, the lit I-5, ranked choice voting. So this brings us towards the end of our meeting. The committee reports. First up is Dawn with mutual aid. There you go.
Hi. We have at least 3 people away on vacation, so we can't quite fully have a quorum to vote for this month as of yet. But as soon as we receive all of our subcommittee members, we will report to the Policy Action Committee probably in the 3rd Wednesday of this month, hopefully with a vote. We have been leaning towards sweeps support. There have been requests by by mutual aid organizations that we help provide scofflaw mitigation, towing vehicle support. And if we know of any folks with translation skills, specifically in Mandarin, Cantonese, Vietnamese, and Spanish, because the sweeps have been merciless and they have been sweeping and targeting people who do not speak English, Black and Brown communities predominantly, and they have not been following legal orders to post sweeps. They have literally been sweeping mercilessly in the community in the 43rd. We have a budget of over 1,050 left, but with the budget proposal, it looks like we can redistribute more funds throughout the year after 2 more months. So that is a relief for us. And also, since I am involved in the fundraising as the fundraiser chair, I would also volunteer any resources and service and time needed to raise funds for non-PAC related 43rd funds to help us all work together, and also for PAC related fundraising as well. And that is our report.
Thank you. Up next, King County Dems report. I don't think we have a representative here for that. Just checking. All right. State committee report. Amy, are you able to speak to this?
Hi, everyone. So for state committee, I can just say that most of our activities are wrapped up in preparing for convention. And I'm kind of hoping maybe we can adjourn a little early tonight so the delegates who are on the Zoom tonight can get a chance to just quickly touch base with each other. So I'm going to skip a more comprehensive report to give us more time. But I also just want to say a quick note that I'm really grateful to everybody for unanimously passing the support of Initiative 135. I'm a queer low-income person with disabilities for whom Seattle has been my only home. I've lived, worked, volunteered here for 26, 28 years. And, I'm being economically evicted likely soon. And so many people like me are, and we need housing so badly. So thank you for your vote tonight on the initiative, but I really want to encourage you to go to the website that we linked to earlier and volunteer. Because we need social housing desperately and all kinds of housing. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Amy. And the last committee report we have is a policy committee. Camille is away. I will speak briefly for her. Two big things. One was the resolution for Initiative 135, which we've just passed. The second thing was at our last policy committee, we discussed the upcoming state convention and looked at various resolutions that we might want to bring forward as the delegates from the 43rd to the state. We're allowed to bring 2 resolutions to the state party as part of that convention. And in addition, we are able to bring 1 amendment to the platform per delegate. And so we've got a bit of a tight timeline, as Amy was alluding to, in nailing down those amendments to the platform. We have a little bit more time, maybe about a month more, to tidy up any resolutions we might have. And so that was the work in the policy committee this past month. With that, we'll move on to new business and good of the order. Is there anybody with a good of the order? I see, let's see, Arshia?
Hi, thank you so much for giving me some time. My name is Arshia. I am Representative Adam Smith's political director. Just wanted to really quickly plug an event coming up for, well, two events actually. Adam had a town hall tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. Virtually. And it was focused on environmental issues, and it was actually a really good discussion that if anyone's interested in environmental issues in the 9th District, you can definitely go back and rewatch that. It's available on the Rep. Adam Smith Facebook. And I also wanted to plug Adam's having a campaign kickoff on May 4th in Des Moines. It's going to be a big event with a bunch of food from around the district. So if anyone's interested in coming, there will be lots of food provided, and I will leave the link to register in the chat if that's possible, or I will or reach out to me and I will get you that information. But just want to leave it at that. And if anyone ever has any questions for Adam or what's going on in the House of Representatives, use me as I'd love to be a help. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Okay, go.
Hello? Yeah. Point of the order?
Yeah.
Good of the order. Okay. I have here, I hope you can see it, a bumper sticker that says, "Stand with Ukraine." If anybody, I have about 500 left. If anybody would like one, you should call 206-634-1848. I can arrange for you to get one.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. With that, one last thing, as Amy said, if you are a delegate, one of the delegates to the state convention, if you can hang on the call, and for everyone else, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for participating and sticking with us as we had to reach quorum over the course of the evening. Please tell your friends, families, and frenemies about the 43rd District Democrats and help us boost the participation.
Yeah, Paul, we have one more question in the chat.
Yes.
Would a resolution introduced for consideration at the May meeting of the 43rd Dems still be timely for forwarding to the state convention?
No, but kind of. So the resolutions that the 43rd delegates bring to the state convention are resolutions that the 43rd delegates decide upon. So it's at this point we had the caucus in March where we elected our delegates, and now it is up to the delegates to decide the resolutions that they're going to bring as 43rd delegates to the state convention. And so the delegate, the resolutions that we bring to the convention are not going to be something that we're going to vote on at the May meeting, if that makes sense. A little complicated, which isn't to say that if you don't have a good resolution, we shouldn't consider it at the May meeting from the 43rd all up. Hope that answers the question. Okay, I see somebody putting a thumbs up, so I'll take that my word salad actually made sense to humans. All right. Again, if you're a delegate to the state convention, please stay on. Otherwise, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much. Okay, let me just see here. We are, looks like we're down. Oh, Sharon has the junior delegates. All right, so just, and Amy, feel free to unmute and actually, Cass, if we can just make it so everyone can unmute themselves, that'd be great. And then Amy, you can step in and talk too. So just a couple things. We've got a pretty tight timeline for the amendments to the platform. I have to submit our amendments to the, oh, hold on. Cass is saying that I am a host. So does that mean I can unmute everybody? Oh, we should